All right, welcome back. In this second Flipgrid video, we're going to talk about grids and how to create a grid. You can see here that I'm on this section here that says My Grids at the top, and this is by default when you log in where you will go. So for Miss Glass, she has a grid already called Miss Glass 4th grade class, and you could add more grids simply by clicking the Add New Grid button. We'll do that in a second, but let me just talk to you about grids first. Think of a grid as kind of like the class level. So if you're an elementary teacher, it makes perfect sense just to have one grid for your class, just like Miss Glass does here. Now, if you started using it more, you might want to break it down by subject area and have a different grid for each subject area. But in general, I think it's fair to start out with just a grid for your class. If you're a secondary teacher, though, you'd probably want one for each period. So each class that you have that comes in a new period, you'd have a different grid for. All right, so let's add a new grid by again clicking this red button here. And when you start out, it says, let's make a grid, and we're going to name the grid. I'm just going to call this test grid. Now, the next part you're going to do is very important. You're going to want to choose school email. And when you choose school email, then you're going to go down here and it automatically gives you a code, but this is editable. So for instance, if Miss Glass was in room 101, I think it's great to just put Glass and then 101. And maybe if you are a secondary teacher, you'd put your room number and then a -2. Actually, it won't let you do a dash, but you could just put 2 for second period or whatever it might be. You can kind of come up with your own code, but this is your flip code here to give your students for easy access. All they have to do then is type in flipgrid.com and then the code at the end there, and they are on your grid. Once you click next, it's going to ask for their school email. I always suggest leaving up this fwcsk12in.us, so if any other teachers want to join, but then it's very important to also add at fwcsstudents.org. That way, all of your students will be able to join your grid as well. Once you have entered in those student email suffix, then you're going to just click next, and it will take you to this page that says your grid is ready. So you can copy down that URL, and here's what you could send out to your kids or put into your LMS to let them know what the shortcut is to their grid. So I'll copy that down, and then I'll click Go to Grid, and that takes me right back to this main page showing my grid, test grid that I've set up. So now if I go back to My Grids, you'll see that I have not only the test grid that I had, but also the one that Miss Glass had set up initially. All right, join us next time and we'll look at topics for how you can add topics to your grid.